We have divided the judgment in three parts. In the first part, we have dealt with the interlocutory applications seeking modification, clarification, vacation, recall of the stay and the directions issued by the order dated 7th November 25. We have given detailed consideration to the applications, the submissions, and have dismissed all the applications by assigning reasons. In this, we have also dealt with the issues of accountability and tortious liability in the context of the stray dog management in this very part. In the second part, we have dealt with the interlocutory applications challenging the standard operating procedure issued by the AWBI in compliance of the direction J contained in order dated 7 November 25. The conclusion is in para 85, and we will just read it out. In view of the foregoing discussion, this court finds no reason whatsoever to interfere with the SOP dated 27 November 25 issued by the AWBI in compliance with the directions of this court. The challenge laid to the SOPs, both on the ground of the alleged excess of jurisdiction as well as on the basis of the inconsistency with the statutory scheme, does not merit acceptance in light of the conclusions recorded here and above. Accordingly, all interlocutory applications challenging the validity of the said SOPs stand dismissed. Part 3 of the judgment deals with the compliance by the states and union territories with the directions issued by this court. We would like to read some of the observations in this part, starting from para 89. This court cannot lose sight of the fact that the ABC framework was first introduced as early as in the year 2001 and was subsequently revised and strengthened by the ABC Rules 2023. Despite the passage of more than 2 decades, there has been a discernible absence of sustained, systematic, and incremental efforts on part of the states and the union territories to expand and fortify the requisite infrastructure in proportion to the steadily increasing population of the stray dogs. The material placed on record reveals that the implementation of the ABC framework has in large measure remained sporadic, underfunded, and uneven across jurisdictions, lacking both continuity and institutional depth. In several regions, sterilization and vaccination programs have been undertaken in a fragmented manner without adequate planning, monitoring, or follow through, thereby significantly undermining their efficacy. Such an approach not only falls short of the statutory mandate, but also defeats the very object sought to be achieved by the framework, which envisages a long term, coordinated, and scientifically driven mechanism for population control and mitigation of public health risks. Had the states and the union territories acted with due diligence and foresight in implementing the mandate of the ABC framework from its inception, including the timely and phased augmentation of sterilization capacity, sustained vaccination drives, and the development of the adequate institutional infrastructure, the present situation would not have assumed such alarming proportions. The framework envisaged under ABC Rules 23 was intended to operate as a preventive and a long-term mechanism which required continuous and coordinated effort over time. The failure to adopt such a proactive, structured, and sustained approach has therefore resulted into a largely reactive and crisis-driven response necessitated by the escalation of the problem rather than its prevention. Such an approach is neither efficient nor capable of yielding durable solutions, particularly in a matter involving public health, human safety, and ecological balance. This court is therefore constrained to observe that the prolonged inaction, coupled with the absence of institutional commitment to the effective implementation of the ABC framework, has contributed significantly to the persistence as well as the aggravation of the problem, which has now assumed dimensions warranting urgent and systemic intervention. After reserving judgment in the present matter, this court has been apprised of multiple reports indicating that the incidents of dog bites and stray dog attacks continue to occur across different parts of the country with alarming frequency and severity. The reports brought to the notice of this court reveal that the magnitude of the problem and the resultant threat posed to the public safety has assumed deeply disturbing proportions. A newspaper report from Rajasthan brought to the notice of the court highlights that in the city of Sriganganagar alone, as many as 1840 dog bite incidents were reported within a span of merely 3 months, while in Sikar, several incidents involving attacks on children by stray dogs have been reported during the same period. In Udaipur, approximately 1750 cases of dog bites have been recorded in the year 26 till the date of publication of the report, whereas Bhilwara witnessed 42 persons being bitten by stray dogs in a single day. The report further refers to deeply disturbing incidents in which young children suffered grievous injuries, including mauling of the faces and limbs by the stray dogs. The situation prevailing in other states is even more alarming. It has been brought to the notice of this court that the state of Tamil Nadu alone recorded approximately 2.63 lakh dog bite cases within the first 4 months of year 26, along with 17 reported deaths attributable to such incidents. It has been reported that nearly 62,000 dog bite cases were recorded in each of the months of January and February, 71,000 cases in March, and approximately 68,000 cases in April 26, thereby constituting a substantial proportion of total 6.25 lakh dog bite cases and 34 deaths recorded during the entirety of the previous year. This court has also been apprised of further reports published in leading national newspapers which demonstrate that the menace of dog attacks has extended to public spaces of critical importance, including airports, residential areas, and urban centers across multiple states. A report concerning the IGI New Delhi states that the airport authorities themselves acknowledged that at least 31 dog bite incidents had been reported across airport terminals since 1st January 26. The report further records allegations of aggressive stray dogs within the airport premises and consequent attempts by the authorities to remove or relocate such animals after the incidents involving the passengers being bitten on 30th and 31st March 26. The very occurrence of repeated dog bite incidents within one of the country's busiest international airports demonstrates the grave inadequacy of the existing containment and public safety measures. Another report relating to the state of Karnataka records that more than 2 lakh dog bite cases were reported within merely the first 4 months of year 26, accompanied by at least 25 rabies-related deaths during the same period. This court has additionally been informed of the alarming incidents reported from the city of Surat in the state of Gujarat, including a widely reported occurrence involving a foreign national, namely a German traveler, who was allegedly attacked and bitten by stray dogs while visiting the city. Reports concerning Surat further indicate a substantial rise in dog bite incidents over recent years, causing increasing concern amongst residents and local authorities alike. Such incidents not only endanger the safety and dignity of the citizens and visitors, but also adversely affect public confidence in civic administration and urban governance. The aforesaid figures viewed cumulative reveal staggering dimensions of the problem and underscore the pressing necessity for immediate and sustained and effective intervention. The harm caused by such incidents is not merely statistical in nature, but has grave human, societal, and public health consequences, the extent whereof is both enormous and in many cases unfathomable. This court is constrained to observe that notwithstanding the directions issued by the orders dated 22nd August 25 and 7th November 25, as well as the statutory framework operating in the field, the material placed on record and the subsequent reports brought to the notice of this court indicate that the intended effect of the directions has not yet adequately percolated to the ground level. The continued occurrence of such incidents reflects serious deficiencies in implementation and enforcement on part of the concerned authorities. This court therefore makes it clear that any continued non-compliance or apathy in implementation of the directions issued by this court and hereinafter by the jurisdictional high courts shall be viewed seriously, and the erring officials of the municipal authorities and the concerned departments of the states and union territories shall render themselves liable for appropriate proceedings, including proceedings for contempt of court, disciplinary proceedings, and tortious liabilities. In this backdrop, it must be emphatically reiterated that the states and the union territories are under a continuing and untrammeled constitutional obligation to ensure the protection of the fundamental right to life and safety of citizens under Article 21 of the Constitution of India. This obligation is not merely passive in nature, but casts an affirmative duty upon the states and union territories to take all necessary and effective measures to prevent conditions that pose a threat to public safety, health, and well-being. Such obligation necessarily extends to the creation, augmentation, and sustained maintenance of adequate infrastructure for effective implementation of the ABC framework, including sterilization, vaccination, sheltering, and overall scientific management of stray dogs. The right to live with dignity under Article 21 of the Constitution of India necessarily encompasses the right of every citizen to move freely and access public spaces without living under a constant apprehension of physical harm, attack, or exposure to life threatening events such as dog bites in public areas. The state cannot remain a passive spectator where preventable threats to human life continue to proliferate in the face of statutory mechanisms specifically designed to address them. This court cannot also remain oblivious to the harsh and deeply disturbing ground realities emerging from various parts of the country, where young children have been mauled, elderly persons have been attacked, ordinary citizens have been left vulnerable in public spaces, and even international travelers have fallen victim to such incidents. If such conditions are permitted to continue unchecked, the inevitable consequence may lead to a regression towards a state where the Darwinian theory of evolution, namely the survival of the fittest, would effectively govern civic life and public spaces. Such a situation would be wholly incompatible with a constitutional democracy governed by the rule of law. The Constitution of India does not envisage a society where children, elderly persons, and vulnerable citizens are compelled to survive at the mercy of physical strength, chance, or circumstance owing to the failure of the state machinery to discharge its constitutional and statutory obligations. The fundamental guarantee under Article 21 of the Constitution of India exists precisely to ensure that the weak and vulnerable are afforded equal protection of life, safety, and dignity under the constitutional order. We have issued directions to the NHAI, which are recorded in the judgment. And finally, we have given the following directions. The states and the union territories shall forthwith take decisive and coordinated time-bound steps for enhancing and augmenting the infrastructure necessary for the effective implementation of the animal birth control framework, including the expansion of sterilization and vaccination capacity, strengthening of existing facilities, and creation of additional institutional mechanisms commensurate with the scale and urgency of the issue. The states and the union territories shall ensure the establishment of at least one fully functional ABC center in each district, duly equipped with requisite veterinary infrastructure, trained personnel, surgical facilities, and supporting logistics so as to enable the systemic, continuous, and large scale implementation of sterilization and vaccination programs. Such centers shall be made operational in a time bound manner and shall function with adequate capacity to address the local population of stray dogs with proper record keeping, monitoring, and periodic reporting to ensure effective and sustained implementation of the ABC framework. It is further directed that having regard to the population density and territorial extent of each district, the concerned departments of the states and the UTs shall take appropriate decision with respect to the expansion of the number of the ABC centers wherever necessary so as to ensure effective coverage and implementation of the ABC framework. The concerned departments and authorities of the states and UTs shall take all necessary measures to implement the directions issued by this court and shall ensure that the same are carried out in letter as well as in spirit without any delay or dilution, and shall also strictly comply with the SOPs issued by the AWBI in this regard. The departments/authorities of the states and UTs as well as the Union of India in respect of public areas, spaces falling within its jurisdiction shall take an informed and reasoned decision regarding extension of the directions issued by this court to other public spaces characterized by high footfall and public utility, including but not limited to places of public congregation and transit, having due regard to the necessity of ensuring a safe and secure environment for the public at large. Such decision shall be taken upon a careful assessment of the ground realities, risk to public safety, and the functional nature of such places, and shall be implemented in a time-bound and coordinated manner. The states and UTs shall undertake comprehensive capacity building measures, including training of personnel, augmentation of veterinary services, strengthening of shelter facilities, vaccination drives in coordination with the relevant departments and agencies. The states and the UTs shall ensure adequate availability of anti-rabies vaccine and immunoglobulin in all government medical facilities and shall put in place effective public health response mechanisms to deal with cases of dog bites. The NHI shall, in coordination with the concerned states and the UTs, formulate and implement a comprehensive and time-bound mechanism for addressing the presence of stray cattle and other animals on the national highways and national expressways, including the deployment of specialized transport vehicles for safe handling and relocation of the stray cattle and other animals, and the creation or earmarking of appropriate holding and shelter facilities, and entering into appropriate arrangements with animal welfare organizations, goshalas, and other competent agencies for their safe handling and relocation. The NHI shall also establish an effective monitoring and coordination framework to ensure continuous oversight and prompt response in such matters. In areas where the population of stray dogs has assumed alarming proportions and where incidents of dog bites or aggressive attacks have become frequent and pose a continuing threat to public safety, the concerned authorities may subject to due assessment by qualified veterinary experts and strictly in accordance with the provisions of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, the Animal Birth Control Rules 23, and other applicable statutory protocols take such measures as may be legally permissible, including euthanasia in cases involving rabid, incurably ill, or demonstrably dangerous / aggressive dogs, so as to effectively curb the threat posed to human life and safety. It is made emphatically clear. This is a very important direction we are giving. It is made emphatically clear that the officers and officials of the municipal authorities, Panchayati Raj institutions, local bodies, and the concerned departments of the states and UTs and the autonomous bodies, institutions, and the persons in charge of all other institutions, that is, schools, colleges, hospitals, who are entrusted with the implementation of the directions issued by this court, shall be entitled to due protection for acts performed by them in good faith and in bona fide discharge of their official duties and compliances carried out pursuant to the present order and the earlier orders passed by this court in the present proceedings. Accordingly, no first information report, criminal court, or coercive proceedings shall be ordinarily initiated against such officers or officials in respect of actions bona fide undertaken for the purpose of implementing the directions issued by this court, save and except where a prima facie case of mala fides, gross abuse of authority, or action wholly dehoves the directions issued by this court is made out. If necessary, the High Court in session of the continuing mandamus in terms of the present order shall be at liberty to pass appropriate orders to prevent frivolous, vexatious, or malicious proceedings against such officers or officials. A pan-India monitoring exercise by this court in respect of the day-to-day compliance would not only be administratively burdensome and time-intensive, but may also not achieve the degree of responsiveness and efficacy that the situation demands. On the other hand, entrusting the High Courts with the responsibility of monitoring would ensure closer engagement with the local conditions, timely corrective intervention, and more effective enforcement of the directions issued, while also enabling the formulation of the context-sensitive measures suited to the peculiar needs of each state and region. In this backdrop, and with a view to securing effective, continuous, and result-oriented implementation of the orders passed by this court, we direct as below. For the purpose of ongoing compliance and monitoring, all High Courts are directed to register a suo motu writ petition in the name and style of in re compliance with the directions issued by Supreme Court in so and so as a continuing mandamus for monitoring compliance with the directions issued by this court with the orders dated 22nd August 25 and 7th November 25, in addition to the directions contained in the present order, and the same shall be placed before and as far as practicable taken up by a division bench of the concerned High Court. The registry of this court is directed to forthwith transmit a copy of the present order as well as the orders dated 11th August 25, 7th November, 22nd August 25, and 7th November 25 to the Registrar Generals of all the jurisdictional High Courts for the purpose of ensuring effective compliance, implementation, and monitoring of the directions issued therein. While ensuring full compliance with the directions issued by this court, the concerned bench of the High Court shall be at liberty to expand or tailor the scope of such directions as may be necessary to address local conditions and exigencies without in any manner diluting the tenor and intent of the directions issued by this court. It is made clear that any continued failure or deliberate non-compliance with the directions issued by this court and the present in the present order and the earlier orders shall render the hearing officials of the municipal department, administrative authorities, and the officials of the concerned departments of the states and UTs liable to appropriate proceedings in accordance with law. The jurisdictional high courts, while undertaking the monitoring exercise in terms of the present order, shall be fully empowered to take appropriate action, including initiation of contempt proceedings against the hearing officials responsible for non-compliance, inaction, or willful disregard of the directions issued by this court. The chief secretaries and the secretaries of the relevant departments of all states and UTs shall file their updated affidavits of compliance before the respective jurisdictional high courts on or before the 7th August 26. Likewise, the Union of India and the NHI shall also file their respective affidavits of compliance before the jurisdictional high court in relation to the areas falling within their respective domain within the aforesaid period, clearly indicating the measures undertaken in compliance with the directions issued by this court. The registry of this court is directed to forthwith transmit the records of all transferred cases applications to the respective jurisdictional high courts, and the matters so transmitted shall be appropriately tagged and heard along with the suo motu writ petition to be registered by the High Court in terms of the direction A issued above. The consolidated report, compliance report of the High Court shall be placed on record before this court 1 week prior to the next date, that is 17th November, which we have fixed for receiving a compliance report. Copies of this order shall be transmitted to all concerned authorities. The matter shall effectively remain closed except for receiving the compliance reports. This court places on record its deepest appreciation for the assistance rendered by the learned amicus curiae, which has greatly facilitated and informed adjudications of the issues arising herein.